And we are recording, just so everybody is aware. So I'll call us to order at 1:02. And first thing on the agenda, we do have it as presentation from May, but she's going to join at 1:30. So just if you're looking at your agenda and wondering what I'm doing, she's going to join us in at 1:30. So we'll just keep moving through the agenda until she gets here. But on that note, does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Looks good as is. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Lauren? All in favor? Beautiful. And minutes from the previous meeting. Can I get, did anyone notice anything in the minutes that should not have been there? Looks good. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes? Sandra? Sorry, Terry, I think you might have come in first, but you're on my other side. And Sandra, I noticed Sandra's hand. So
that's fine.
Are you in favor, Terry?
Of course.
The rest of the group? Beautiful. All right, so we'll move into old business. And then when May joins in, we'll just kind of stop where we are, if everybody's okay with that, and let her do her presentation so she doesn't have to sit through everything. So we ended our last meeting talking about next steps. Where do we go? We talked a lot about mental health being the priority of the task force and where we would like to focus our efforts. And we thought we would come back today and develop some concrete next steps. We had lots of really good ideas around community engagement, but we had a lot of them. So we want to kind of get it down to a couple really strong things that we can work on over the next few months. So I'll open it up to the team and see what people's thoughts are. Susan.
Since we met last time, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I really like the idea of challenging all the groups to do something on their own, and us being sort of the catalyst or the container of all the information and getting it out there so that we're not doing all the work, but every group has got something going on.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love it. What we'd need to know, I guess where we'd need to get clear, and we talked lots about this last time, but what are we challenging them to do? And when are we challenging them?
I like that week that we identified. Was it the 3rd to the
3rd to the 9th, I believe.
May?
Yeah.
And David Irvine is on board. If we want to get him to do a workshop or something, he's willing to meet with us and come up with something. And if we could come up with like a title and sort of a framework around it and then push it out to all the groups, get them motivated to do something.
And David's on board, Susan, and ready, and
he's anxious. He would have come to this meeting today, but I told him there was a lot on the agenda. So last time we put a little committee together and met with him, and he's willing to do that. It's great because he's worth thousands of dollars, and if he's willing to help us and use his name and sort of bounce things off him, it's great.
I love that. And kind of as a kickoff, you're thinking?
Yeah, whatever you think, kickoff or during the week, or just somehow using his momentum to get the week talked about.
Love it. What are other people's thoughts? You know what? Before we go on, I need to just backtrack because I am a horrible person, and I'm announcing this live streamed. Lexi, is, can you guys shift your camera? Alexis Knight is here with us, and she is a practicum student that has been working with our team for the past couple months. She's working on her social work degree through U of C. So can we just welcome Lexi? And I apologize, Lexi, for not introducing you right off the start. You can flash everybody your
Welcome.
So for those of you that know Jaylene, this is Jaylene's daughter with the town. So sorry to out you, Lexi, like that. But welcome. So she's going to sit in on the meeting. All right, so back to ideas. What are other people's?
I've talked to both CSHO and Big Hill Haven about these ideas. Corinne and I had some thoughts of what we could do at CSHO for our tenants, and we were coming up with some ideas. We don't know where we'll be at as far as gatherings and stuff go by then, so that's kind of a limiter on how big we can plan. But we're just even thinking of things like getting some certificates for things like a trip to McKay's, or for our Sunset Ridge people going to Sunset Bakery, or something small like that we know we could put in place even if the restrictions are still pretty tight on gatherings. And as far as Big Hill Haven goes, I just put the idea in their mind at the meeting last night, so we'll have to go a little bit further with that in the next month or so.
And were they open to the challenge, Sandra? Did they receive it well and were interested in like finding a way to participate?
Yeah, I think Corinne's always keen and up for that. So and she'll have to take it to the board at their meeting. And Big Hill Haven, we did it at the end of a long meeting last night. So I think if we start out our next session with it, they would be keen. If I had some ideas to take back to them so we can start to see what's possible. But it's kind of the next stage we need to take on. I'm sure they'll be keen on something, and we've got a full board now, so that's helpful too.
Maybe the message, if you're giving them something for free, could be, we're sharing kindness with you, so spread it and do something kind for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
I did present to Kiwanis along with Terry a couple nights ago. We presented to their board. They were interested in hearing the stats from the survey. And so we went and talked with them. And then we also talked a little bit about this idea of encouraging community groups as well. They were incredibly excited about it. And we're tossing around some ideas. And I said I would get back to them. I'm like, you're hearing this very prematurely. But Ron from the Kiwanis said we could do something like decorating bikes through our community association or through Kiwanis, and then have people bike through the trails. And he's like, and we could challenge other community associations to do this and try to make it a community-wide thing. So I think there's some really good ideas that will come out. You're right, we'll have to be careful with restrictions because we can't just put out it's mental health. We gather and be mentally healthy. We'd have to be careful like that we're aligning with HS restrictions and stuff as well. And I know there was talk last time as well about even spreading it longer than the week. Is that something? Do we want to keep it within 1 week? Do we worry that so many things will be happening at one time? I know that was a concern that got brought up before as well.
I think it's nice to have a contained period of time. If things go on, it's okay too, but just for advertising and for building the excitement, it's nice to have a due date, I think.
Just want to be clear. So when we're communicating this out, that we're communicating it accurately.
They could do things all year long, which would be awesome too.
I like the idea of having it contained to a week as well. I think we can target that and, you know, have everything in 1 week. Just doesn't dilute it, I guess. Concentrates our efforts. The one thing, and I don't have an idea here, is that's why I've been so quiet. But it would be nice if we had a common theme. And I don't know what that is. Like the mental health week is the reason. What's the theme? What is something that ties everybody together? Like, so if it's community association or seniors on the bow or whatever group that's going to participate, what is it that they're participating in?
What was the tagline that came along with that week?
Get real about how you feel. Name it, don't numb it, is the theme for the National Mental Health Week. So we could use that very similar theme, get people to use the hashtag.
I like all, and I still love that idea and build off of that because it's already there and we just might as well, you know, not recreate the wheel. Maybe it's the action that I'm looking for. Like what is it that all the groups are doing? Is it, if it's ice cream or paying it forward, or I know it's to make people feel better and share kindness and that type of thing, but what is it? Like,
What is the call to action? How are we promoting
yeah,
it?
and that's the, you know, and I think it has to be something that people want to do. You know, we were kind of last meeting talking about Shara's coldest night of the year as like the action, and it was the outcome was cool, right? So could we do something similar or like that? And again, I don't have the idea. Trying to think of it. I thought Lauren was going to have it because she was just got this new course under her belt, and now she's full of ideas and was going to bring them all to this meeting.
I am ready to prep children for court, but the wheels are turning. I don't have anything specific. I think it would be a good opportunity to potentially loop our CMP in as well, and maybe come up with something that we could do with them. I think it would be good though, like based off of what you're saying, if some people are going a certain direction and focusing on giving out something for, say, ice cream, that we're not overlapping, and that we're maybe covering different areas. So some coordination on that would probably be really good.
Are you thinking a theme like, say, like, you know, the participation thing, where this would be a get out, get moving, get out and, you know, be in your yard, in your community doing, I mean, something along that line, like the physical thing could be around movement. Just a thought.
It could be. I think that movement does create, and being outdoors does increase mental health, right?
Yeah.
Positivity. Like maybe it's, you know, I like the idea of the community associations, and maybe we have maybe all this group does is judge something. And maybe it's the community groups or community associations that do something. Is it decorate your sidewalks with chalk? Is it create an obstacle course for kids in your park? And then we create a contest that maybe we, you know, could provide something for the winning group. But then that's the reason, and we're trying to get mental health and move the needle. If we get people outside and we're doing X, then, you know, but what's the carrot to get people to actually do it? And with the Helping Hands thing, it was raising money, right? And getting outside.
Move it or lose it.
So I was just going through some photos, looking at all the things over the past year that we've come through, and all the, you know, and I've been interviewed multiple times about the anniversary of the pandemic, you know, it's being 1 year, and So it's going back and looking at photos, and like the kids doing the chalk on the sidewalks was a big thing. Those little penguins, remember people were doing those little snow penguins around. There's little initiatives like that kids and families and people were out and about doing. The signs from Helping Hands with the kids on the park, that was really cool. And there's a whole bunch of them. The community parades was another one that's Lauren with the RCMP. Like maybe there's something like that, or the RCMP and maybe the community parade goes around and the parade is the judge of whatever is going on in each community. Right?
Something like share your story, and then every group does it, whether it's through exercise or posters or sidewalk talk.
And maybe we put it out to the community group. Have the coolest activity for mental health and we'll come and judge it. Or I keep coming back to the judge thing. I don't know why, but anyway.
The thing with the judging is if we're spreading it over a week, that might get tricky, right? How would
they could take pictures and send it to us with their story and we could judge it from there.
Yeah, that might work.
Susan's using technology to our advantage.
Least amount of work possible, right?
They could post it. We could create maybe an event on Facebook for that week about mental health. We could name it what we want to, and then people could tag their pictures, like hashtag Cochrane Get Real, or whatever we come up with, and then that could help us judge things at that point as well.
The community could vote, and then we don't even have to judge.
We could get sponsors too for this pretty easily, I think, if we were to do a community initiative thing. And I mean, for the prize, like maybe it's, I don't know. I'm not even going to say. I don't have any other ideas.
No, I like it. And I do think we need to be clear so people know, like if we're doing a call to action, we can't just say it's Mental Health Week.
Right.
We're calling you to action, right? So,
Susan and I do have a meeting with I'm just looking at my calendar here. We have an annual meeting with the community associations where we meet with all the presidents and all the boards all at once. So if we have an idea that we want to spread out to them, we could certainly connect with them at that time.
And when is that?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I think it's a few weeks away. We could put it out to them ahead of time and then really enforce it at that meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And are we set on having organizations, or do we want to do a call for action to the general public so then people can come up with their ideas? So it could be like an outdoor exercise group or something like that. And then it gets the whole community engaged.
Yeah, I love just a general call to action. Because we might get some of those like sidewalk chalk, right? And like some of those different things that people are really creative.
And it could engage the schools too. So you could even see some like classrooms getting involved or integrating it into their school, to the work week and their education plan.
April 14th is our meeting.
Okay, so that gives some time too.
I do like the general call to action idea as well. Like and if we don't limit it to, our ideas, like let's have people be innovative and come up and create their own cool things, and the sky's the limit, right? But if it's all about what is it and what's it for. And I like the idea of a prize too. I don't know if it has to be something kind of, that gets people out and involved.
What? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Just going to say we might need a group prize and an individual prize if we're going to do a call to action for individuals. What was that, Kim?
Well, I was just going to say, what if we, and this is me going back to my social work, communication, awareness, make sure that we're actually doing some education with this too. But what if we worked with communications and came up with some ideas of like, these are all ways to promote positive mental health and get that out. And then our question to the community is, how will you get real? Right? Or something like that, using that tagline, and then having the information after, and like prizes and different things and submit. But I think it's important too that we're doing that education piece on like what is positive mental health, and that might help guide groups to come up with some ideas to promote those pieces that we're highlighting. Or have I gone way too dorky and taken out the fun? Because I've been known to do that too. So.
I like that.
And if we're involving bikes and movements, we could look at it being like an obstacle course, and then the place you go next through the obstacle course is uncovering, reading some of the mental health ways of supporting, yourself, your community, your family, in response to like not just COVID, but everything. Some other possibility. And then whoever resolves all the, I don't know, the obstacle course, that could be the individual prize and then the group prize.
Combine the education and the fun together and make sure we got both components.
Yeah.
That is the FCSS group. May's going to talk about it a little bit more. But one of their plans for that week, because we usually do kind of something for the week, is a scavenger hunt for that week through the town, and to have multiple different ones for different abilities and that kind of thing as well, which will tie really nicely into that too.
Cool. Kim, what was the last part of the tagline? I got get real about how you feel. What was
Get real about how you feel, name it, don't numb it. And so then as a task force, our role would be getting that communication out, the call to action, and then doing the prizes, like getting the sponsorship or whatever that looks like, and prizes. Is there
a way to gather the information too about who's doing what, and either have it on the website or both, or put it in the newspaper so that people have a chance to get involved, decorate their bike and join the decorators or whatever? We
could maybe, like, were you talking a Facebook page or something, Nicole, where people could maybe populate? We could have an area where people could put their stuff. We will have to be careful with restriction stuff as well. It's so hard to know what it's going to be like in May. But we could just populate a page with their activities, and people would have to could monitor and search it potentially. Sorry, Jeff.
But if I like the Facebook page, because then people can just post what they're doing, right? Yeah. So if we have like our tagline on there and whatever activity we're asking people to do, then it's up to them to post it, take a picture, do a selfie, whatever it is, show us your idea or show us what you've done or what your group has done. And then it's up to them, the obligations on those people, if they want their picture up there or not, right?
Yeah.
But then we can also track views with that. We can see how much engagement we're getting. And then also the educational piece could be up there as well. Like we can just do posts of, and as people start to follow the page, maybe you've created a long lasting connection with a bunch of people for the future, right?
Yeah. And we could talk to May or our team too and just put random tips up, like maybe every day that week. Yeah. No, I really like that. And this feels manageable, and I think the outcome could be like incredible if we can get the communication out. The one thing I'm wondering is if we're looking at prizes and picking the best, I think we would have to look maybe at categories, or at least be transparent with how we're scoring them. So, or it would just be a random, like I think we either have to be very transparent with categories, or it's a random somehow picking.
Lexi had a really good idea too. It was like to engage the younger groups instead of you could do a TikTok video and then attach the TikTok video to the Facebook page. It would be super fun.
And like get them to use the hashtag.
Can you tell us what TikTok is?
Pardon me?
Can you tell us what TikTok is?
It's
I'm just kidding.
We were all like, oh, Jeff.
Insert eye roll here. Yeah.
I'm with Jeff, though. I think we get rid of a lot of the population if we only did it that way.
I like that, though.
It would be
a great idea. It's just widens the spectrum.
Yeah, like engage some of the younger members of the Cochrane community, and they can post it to the Facebook page or whatever.
Just another medium to use, and then with the hashtag, it actually links you back to who you're representing. So there could be a TikTok group, and whatever their hashtag, the hashtag could go back to our theme, and then it loops it back. I think that's what you meant, right?
That's a lot of, yeah.
Plus, it's a medium that the younger people are using, not just us old people on social media.
Yeah. We're all like, Facebook. Kids aren't even on there anymore. Yeah.
I think only the 40 and up use Facebook anymore. 40 and down don't. They're all like Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Snapchat, yeah.
We're old here, Lexi. We appreciate having you here with us today. In terms of prizes, what are people's initial thoughts around how do we work and manage that piece? Oh, May, you've joined us. How are you? All right, well, that's a good place actually that we can pause, and I'll introduce May, and she can share some of the really neat things that she's working on. May is part of our team here at FCSS, and her title is Community Liaison and Programmer with the Community Helpers Program. So we invited May because her entire work is focused around mental health. The Community Helpers Program is about educating and giving people knowledge, our natural helpers, so they have the skills to be able to help others. And she's also going to share a little bit more about the scavenger hunt that Nicole brought up as one of the initiatives that she's working on. So we thought we'd give her a few minutes to come in and share some of the information so you can share it back to people as well. So I'll pass it over to you, May.
Awesome, thanks. My Zoom calls have been shutting down on me. So if that happens, I'll just, I guess, pop into your office, Kim, if that's okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen so that you guys can look at a PowerPoint slide instead of just my face, if I can find it on here. That's strange.
May, is it the same as the one that you sent to me? I could open it.
Yeah, I think I changed one thing, but let's just do that because for some reason it's not giving me the option of sharing my PowerPoint.
Oh, hang on.
Showing me all my other screens that are open, but not that one.
Try that and then I'll look for the PowerPoint.
Okay. Let's just try this, see what happens. Are you seeing the PowerPoint now or still my web browser?
Nope, we can see.
Just the web browser though.
Oh, weird.
Oh, that isn't your actual.
No, it's like when I go oh, here we go. Okay. I guess I was just sleepy. Here we go. You can see it now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. These poor computers work so hard these days. They're just not always what you want them to be. Okay, here we go. So I thought I would start by showing you guys this picture. We show this as part of the Community Helpers course in one of the modules on mental health. But I also just like to show it because it gives us a good understanding of what we're doing when we're promoting mental well-being. So if you haven't seen this diagram before, basically what it does is separate mental illness from mental well-being. So the horizontal line is where a mental illness would be. You might have high mental illness or low mental illness, and that is actually completely separate from your mental well-being. So the vertical line actually shows the state of your mental health. So the beauty in this model is that you could have a mental illness, but be doing really well. You could have really great mental health despite having a mental illness, because maybe you're managing it really well. You have the supports you need, you have the coping strategies, you have lots of protective factors. The other part of this is that you could have really poor mental health without necessarily having a mental illness. So for us working in mental health promotion, what we focus on, unless we're working in intervention, is the vertical line. We're just always trying to support people in having good mental health regardless of mental illness. So you don't need to be an expert on mental illness to do that, which is nice. And then the other picture I was just going to show before I get into things is this one, which is just a really nice reminder that the majority of what we want to be doing when we're trying to promote good mental health is at the universal level. So 80% of the population, if we want to target that bigger portion of the population, we're going to be working on building resilience, creating supportive environments, and working to promote good mental health. Whereas a smaller portion of the work we do to support mental well-being in the community is that treatment piece. So a lot of the times in mental health promotion, we think automatically we have to focus on mental illness when bigger
Can anyone else hear me? No. Okay, I'm just going to run next door.
We can hear you.
Your volume cut out.
the internet in here just,
Gonna come to my room.
I'll just bring this to see if it will let me Thank you. Oh. There you go. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Community Helpers is one of those programs that targets the kind of at the universal level and then a little bit farther down in that triangle. So it really promotes mental well-being and help-seeking behavior through a peer support model. So it's based on the idea that people are most likely when they're struggling to get support from someone they know. They don't go to FCSS necessarily as their first point of contact or the mental health clinic. They talk to a friend or a teacher. And so what Community Helpers does is train those people to be more knowledgeable and confident in how to help if somebody does approach them with a problem. And it does focus more specifically on youth and young adults ages 12 to 30 because they're at higher risk for suicide. But the people who take the program can be of any age because almost everybody in the community interacts with someone between the ages of 12 to 30. And the skills you learn can be used to help people of any age, really. So the program teaches general helping skills, teaches a bit about mental health and suicide awareness. It focuses on how to take care of yourself as a helper, boundaries, and then it also helps to build awareness of community resources available so that if you do need to refer somebody to support, you know what supports exist. Oops. Okay, so it is free. There's 9 core modules that give you a certificate. And when we were doing in person, it can be done in one day. It's a bit squished, but it can be done. And online, it takes a little bit longer. So we split that up into any chunk of time, 1 hour once a week, a couple of hours twice a week. It can look like however. And then the extra modules are on topics specific to issues young people experience, like sexual identity, career choices, and that kind of thing. And there's a couple of ways that it runs. I prefer to have it run where a school or a community group or a workplace host it, but we can also run it as one of our programs here at FCSS. And I'll tell you more about why that's my preference in a minute. So the benefits of the program are really that it builds the capacity that exists already in the community to support mental well-being. It promotes that help-seeking behavior, increases awareness of existing community resources. It strengthens community action and buy-in when it's hosted by an external group. So for example, right now we have a few community groups interested in bringing community helpers in, and because they're going to host it rather than me, they've had to initiate some of those conversations with their groups about mental health, which really helps make sure that those conversations keep happening and that the use of the skills will happen beyond the training as well. Through the training, participants build connections between themselves, between them and the host, and then between them and community organizations. So we've been having one of the therapists from addiction and mental health come and introduce himself at each of our trainings, which is really awesome because it helps reduce that stigma of needing to access help. And it builds that connection for kids. Hey, if ever I need to go get therapy, I already know one of the therapists there. I've met them. And then lastly, it promotes ongoing initiatives. So in some of the schools where I've taught the program, they use that group of community helpers to form a bit of a association or club. And those youth then plan additional mental health projects to continue being helpers beyond when the training has completed. And then I'm also mandated within my role to support trained community helpers. So once people have the training, then I get to support them in being the best helpers they can be through things like virtual coffee connections, assist in mental health first aid. I also ran last spring a Healthy Habits program. And another thing that I do is partner with Stepping Stones to Mental Health to deliver one-off sessions in schools through their programming. And then there is a new program that's going to be coming out that we may or may not have the opportunity to offer, which is going to be more focused specifically on suicide prevention skills. Okay, so some of the other work that we've done focused on mental health promotion. Last year for Mental Health Week, we really wanted to build some connections with the community and do something fun. Because COVID happened, we were then limited to what we could do. But we still went out and parked ourselves at the Walmart and promoted the Community Helpers Program, invited people to share with us how they were doing mentally. We gave them a little mental health kit and just wanted to connect and let them know we were there and we were aware that they might be struggling with their mental health because of COVID or whatever else really. And in those mental health kits, we included these. So hopefully you guys have seen these. We mailed them out to everybody in Cochrane. This is a front and back of a wallet-sized business card. The front with those 3 questions, we did make it into a magnet so that people could see it regularly on their fridge. And the goal here was to, this was, I think, in April, May, June, when we were really, the COVID first happened, we were really thinking about people's mental well-being, trying to figure out how to support them. And of course, the checklist of things to do to support your own mental well-being is the kind of information that has been continued to be put out there. But we wanted to go one step further in giving people that 3-step question process to really give them a tool to identify what they wanted to do to feel better and to make it a little more effective. So checking in with yourself, how am I doing today? Step 2 is super important, showing that compassion. So acknowledging that it's okay if you are struggling. And then from there, deciding what you want to do to take action. So those were mailed out to everybody and they were included in the mental health kits. We still have some that we're going to continue to pass out. And then we used some of those ideas for self-care activities in the activity guide that was being published. We included a little mental wellness tip in those regularly. This year for Mental Health Week, and Mental Health Week is the Canadian Mental Health Association. It's their national week to recognize mental health. So it's an opportunity to just put some more focus on mental health. So there are some tools through the CMHA. They've got a theme and social media tools. But we thought one of the things we could do during Mental Health Week and throughout the month of May would be a scavenger hunt. And a couple of other communities have done this. And we just think it's the perfect COVID-friendly way to do something fun for the community, encourage connection, and all of the aspects of the scavenger hunt do serve to promote mental well-being. So getting outside, being in nature, getting exercise, doing something with other people, and not just with your cohort, but knowing that the rest of the community is participating builds that sense of connection as well. We're going to make it inclusive. So if you can't walk around the route that we pick, you can still participate at home. And so really trying to focus on some of those protective factors of sense of belonging, sense of social connectedness, and maybe it will even give families the invitation to talk about mental health amongst themselves if they haven't been already. So we would like to, make mental health content, infuse it throughout. And we'd also like to schedule some pop-ups like we did last year with the connector, the community connector van, hand out some kits, see what kind of fun we can incorporate into that as one of the stops on the scavenger hunt for some extra bonus points. So we're hoping to run that throughout the whole month, really. The last bit of work that we're doing focused on mental health is the Rural Mental Health Project. So this is a project of CMHA Alberta, and they've put a lot of money and time into training community animators. And myself and Kristen Immel went to get the animator training. And then the goal is that trained animators, we will go back to their communities and identify what their rural community needs are in terms of mental health and well-being. So it's not a one size fits all. It's very much the goal is that you tailor what you do to your community's needs. So it came with a small bit of grant funding with opportunity to apply for additional funding in the next couple of years. So what we decided to do here in Cochrane was take advantage of the Child and Youth Forum that's already meeting around the topic of mental health and focused on youth, which we thought was a great population to support right now. So in true community development style, it needs to be led and driven by the group that it's for, which means we can't sit as a group of professionals and come up with a program for youth. We need to involve them from the beginning. So what we did was send a survey out to youth to find out what's going on with their mental health and invite them to participate in a planning session or two to find out, not only what's going on for them, but what do they want to do about it. So I'll share some of the themes that came back. We had 92 responses and about 30 kids say they were interested in coming to the planning session, which we've scheduled for next Thursday. Next Thursday? Yes. So the first question we asked was, what are your challenges right now or in the last year? And as you would imagine, pandemic-related challenges, of course, came up. Also school stress. And with regards to school stress, it wasn't just, that they have homework or important tests. It was the fact that with everything else happening in life related to COVID, school is that much harder. So when the workload doesn't decrease to give that space for additional struggles, then it just makes it doubly stressful. Lack of activities for youth, sports came up a lot. And then what I found really important for adults is that they feel like there are not many people to check in with or ask how they're doing. They're unsure of who they can talk to get the help they need. They feel like there's a lot of pressure to take care of themselves. Like, here, you go do these self-care things. And a general sense that adults don't understand or relate to what they're going through. Another theme that was quite just, sad to hear was that low motivation and low hope for the future. So really feeling like they have not much to look forward to these days. And existing mental health challenges worsened. We did ask them what they feel their strengths were as youth. So the fact that they're really good at connecting with each other. They like to help each other. They are involved in activities, even though there's limited ones right now. Spirituality and religion came up. And they also mentioned some of that personal resilience that they just have naturally. We asked them ideas for projects and programs. Some of them mentioned, more workshops in the schools. They really crave clubs and activities and groups right now. They also want to know more about what's out there to support their mental health. They're looking for more ways to express themselves to adults, judgment-free, and some ideas around basic life skills to help life feel less stressful right now. And then lastly, we just asked topic-wise, what would you like to learn about? So this is a lot of what came up in the challenges, but also body image did come up a few times. And I will say there were a couple of responses that mentioned suicide and youth feeling, youth that didn't previously struggle with mental health, having suicidal thoughts. So that's definitely an issue happening as well right now, as we would figure. So that is the work that we're doing right now, focused on mental health. And when I was invited to come and talk, I thought I would just share a bit about where my brain goes in terms of what else we could do or where else we want to focus. So I was reminded of, you know, the goal always being to balance protective factors, well, increase protective factors and reduce risk factors. So I think we've really been, when I say we, I mean those of us doing mental health promotion work, we've really been focused on increasing coping skills. But when we're reminded that there's, you know, other levels we can be working at and other factors that we do have some influence over, maybe we could go beyond just helping people with their coping skills. Not that that's not important, but the thing about coping skills that I'm reminded of is that it's usually the people who see that information or who latch onto it or notice it are people who are already doing it or who are already aware that it's important. So I know when I get a little card with self-care strategies in the mail, I'm like, yeah, self-care strategies, but I'm already somebody who cares about that kind of thing and knows it's important. So I really wonder, the individuals who need it the most are often not the ones seeing it when it comes as a handout or a one-off training. So I was brainstorming, you know, other ways we can approach supporting mental health of residents. So a couple of other suggestions would be to look at that life course approach. So those points of transition when youth are moving from high school beyond, when adults are approaching retirement, any of those kind of life stage transition points always have additional risk. The environment. So a settings approach in health promotion focuses on delivering and promoting mental health through workplaces, schools, families, and communities. So if we were to deliver community helpers in all workplaces, we would really be supporting our adult population in a way that offering a one-time workshop wouldn't. And then anytime we can strengthen community action, as we know here at FCSS, is always going to be more effective. And then did I have anything else here? Oh yeah, and then I was also thinking about some of the work we're already doing that promotes mental well-being that we don't always think of as being mental health promotion because it's called other things. So absolutely, the built environment affects our mental health when we have walking paths and the skating rink. I went skating on my lunch break. That was awesome. Other events and activities that promote that sense of belonging. So a scavenger hunt doesn't sound like it's mental health promotion, but so much about it is. Anytime we're supporting that socioeconomic aspect around job support, of course, access to services and then caregiver support is kind of lower down in that intervention piece of the triangle, but so important. Stepping stones, you know, they're working in schools to build capacity. Even the sidewalk chalk that we did last spring, it's not just the messages you might read, but it's that sense of involvement, that community connectedness, the person who decides to, yeah, sure, I'll draw something on my sidewalk. So, and then those plan stay kits. So all of those things that we were already doing, how can we, you know, continue to do lots of those great things rather than needing to come up with fancy new things. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks, May.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for May or comments?
That was a really good presentation. I enjoyed it. David Irvine said that he's been studying up on resiliency, and that could be one of the topics that we get him to talk about. May, do you have anything that sticks out to you about Cochrane and resiliency that he could focus on?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what my answer would be. I think it's always, you know, and I know this is something Kim reminds us of all the time, is how can we deliver the information in a way that people will hear it and understand it? So if he talks about resilience,
what are those protective factors or immediate things or relatable things people can focus on in their own lives? I don't know, that's a good question to think about.
Yeah, the word resiliency always turns me off because it's just so big, and so what does that mean exactly? So if there's some simpler words we could use.
Yeah, and I think it's really relevant right now because it's that bounce back idea. A few years ago, the concept of bouncing forward actually came up in the literature. So instead of describing it as bouncing back to your previous self, you've actually learned so much and grown a lot through the challenge. So you're actually bouncing forward. So how do you recognize everything you've learned through this experience as you move forward? Which is
I like that. It seems so much more positive.
Yeah.
Bouncing back.
Yeah.
Think we could do something with that.
Does anyone else have any other questions or? We're letting you off easy, it looks like. Me?
I think there's a couple. Nicole.
I was just trying to get Kim's attention because I saw that you unmuted.
Oh, geez. Thank you. The question I have is, I like the scavenger hunt idea, and it kind of builds, and Kim, brilliant, because it's kind of what we've been talking about for Mental Health Week. How do you see this group assisting, if at all, or how can we build on what you've got planned already?
Well, I know we will be planning some of those pop-ups with the connector van. So we will need, I think we talked about needing approval to make sure that that's safe, that we're doing that in a safe way. We're trying to figure out ways to make that more enticing for people as a stop by on their route, so that they come see us and then they get the information. But if we can't hand out, like, we might have done a barbecue, let's say, or something like that. So how can we entice people to pop by the van? Do we give them a coupon for free ice cream or something like that? But that will be something we want to make sure we've got, planned well. And then we're also having a meeting later this week to find out how and if we want to involve other businesses. We want the route to be walkable, but are there, maybe the business community in Cochrane would want to be involved somehow? Yeah.
I think the promotion, once we're ready, if everybody can talk to your networks as much as possible, because we all have different networks of people. So if this group can just help talk it up, promote, help get community involved, it would be awesome.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? I'm sorry, I'm kind of blind and I can't wear glasses because I have my mask on, so I just see squares of blurry people. So you got to do some big movements if you have any questions.
It did occur to me, Shara, maybe I'll talk to you about this later, but you guys, Helping Hands did that sidewalk art. Maybe we could do some of that along the route of the scavenger hunt. Like, we'll be giving them a map, but it would be nice if there was, some nice messages along the way too.
I think that would be a great idea. And I think we have volunteers that would love to do that right now, May. Sorry, I came in late. We had a board meeting right before this, but when are you planning the scavenger hunt?
For May.
Okay.
Mental Health Week is the 3rd to 9th, I think. But we want this to be the whole month. And then the nice part is we can do it multiple times. Like, if we don't have dates on anything, we can just keep doing it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, May.